guys. My name is Mikhail. I'm going to do the presentation about the Vue.js. So initially I thought it's going to be the Angular developers meetup. So the title is like that, but I may mostly reference Angular concepts, but mostly it's applicable to all modern frameworks in some way, so don't be confused by the title. I've been doing stuff for the web for the last like 7-8 years. Nowadays I work in Wolters Kluwer as a Frontend developer. Mostly my everyday activities is Angular and mostly version 1. By the way, just to know who is listening right now, please raise your hand who is using Angular 1x in your like everyday commercial project. Okay, it's not Angular Meetup. Okay. And please do the same who does React or React-like frameworks. Okay, so it's pretty mixed up audience. That's nice. By the way, which of you maybe tried do something with Vue.js? Wow, that's a lot of stuff. That's good. That's good. It's gonna be interesting. Vue.js. Basically, I wanted the points of my presentation is just to explain what it is and why it's quite cool library nowadays. What are the concepts and building block of it, so that you can make use of it really fast, and do some practical examples, some coding in the end. So this year it was pretty trending. So if you take a look at the Google Trends for this year, it was really big growth of searches for Vue and Vue.js in Google. So some people really who never heard about it years ago now start at least exploring or hearing from their colleagues or maybe classmates or people around in the community that it's a new growing framework. Well, it is not that new. It was started in 2013 by the guy Ivan Yu. He speaks Chinese and English as well, so that's why some of the repositories and manuals you can find are in Mandarin. So if you're proficient with that, you can benefit from it. Basically it was. It started almost 3 years ago. It was inspired by the approach React proposed when the library concentrates only on a Vue layer, does it very good, does it very efficiently, fast, and the other part of the application, the architecture, is up to you. So you can build whatever you want, and it will give you the ways to manage the Vue layer. As you can see, the name just goes from transliterating the word Vue. I think it's also nice and easy to remember compared to React, which is just React. It's more complex. As I said, they started in 2013. Then there were a couple of minor versions those years, and it was really not that known by the community. And by mid-2015, they released the version 1, and this autumn, in September, they released the version 2, which really had a lot of rewrites. They changed the virtual DOM engine basically, and they got rid of some of the libraries which were initially a part of Vue, like. They used to have something like a Vue resource, which was like official HTTP layer proposed by the library. So now they got rid of it. However, that's why you basically can now use any of the on the market libraries like Axios or even jQuery or whatever you prefer for HTTP layer. But they also updated some other core parts, like a router, which now perfectly fits the updated version 2 of the framework. So it plays really nicely together. We'll have time to see that later. So yeah, you maybe say like, oh, it's again a new framework. We all see like every week there is a new one. So what gonna happen with it like in a couple of months? Nobody gonna remember about it. Well, that's not completely true, because at the moment when I was working on the presentation, there was almost 40,000 stars on GitHub, and it's not the main, of course, point to be aware of. But the ecosystem was really growing fast, and there were a lot of plugins, from small, tiny UI fragments to full-blown UI, I don't know, like libraries and the other functional parts of prospective application. So it's all already in place, and because of that, there are quite enough articles and blog posts and like how-to tutorials, how to start with it, how to make your application work with it. So you got covered with that. It's not something which where you have to guess how things work or have to go to Stack Overflow to like figure out what's happening.
Is this library popular in China?
Yes, it is. It's usually
this number is definitely too low.
Well, probably they have in China is its own version of GitHub, where you use not stars but some other fancy figures. So I didn't really investigate that point, but. It's growing really fast, so I think soon you'll see bigger numbers here. Yeah. So this is about the developers. Developers getting interested in that and producing more stuff for usage, basically. But it's not only this; it's the big-sized companies invest into that framework. You name some of those names, of course, and it's something to consider, I think. So yeah, that's like a preface. Now I really want to go through the main points why Vue is cool and why you should consider it for your current or future project. So the first one is really incredibly super tiny footprint. It only weighs about 25 kilobytes. So you can test it yourself, but this is one of the screenshot of one of those research where you just gzip in minified versions of the popular frameworks and see how much does it cost, basically. So here you can see that the Vue is in the end of the list, if you didn't notice, and it's really super tiny. So that it only has the Vue layer with no libraries, no opinionation on top. You just can stack your what you need on top of that. That's why it's so cheap to include into your project. That's for example, if you're managing a medium or large scale project, you probably have one of those, like in the legacy code or in some part. Probably you have it. So imagine you add one more library like that, but by size, I mean, but in the end, this is the size that the Vue.js file takes. So it's almost unnoticeable in the desktop world, I would say. But if you consider the mobile first usage, it's really, I think, a big selling point that it's so tiny. So it's one thing. And well, another thing. Let's be honest, the users of your application don't really care what it's written with. If it's a jQuery or React, Saga, Redux something, or it's server rendered PHP something, if it's delivered in time, if it works okay, they don't care how fancy are your technologies. If you use ES6, 7, 3, they don't care. So if they don't care, the other part is what you care about, what you have fun working with, what makes you productive, what makes you not spend time trying to understand how things work, but just writing a business logic basically. So that's why I think it's really valuable to have a nice, productive developer experience. As an example, we can take a look at this. This is screenshots of some of the parts of the Angular 2 API. It didn't fit the screen. It's maybe like one fifth of the whole naming and all the methods, all the API parts which are there. So, how do you think? Is it easy to master in a foreseeable time? Especially if the API may change, they like it very much. Especially with Angular, they just change things while in coming versions, and you really while you master one part, it can be changed already. Yes.
Indeed, comparing a moped to an airplane is not fair. That is why maybe you should be comparing this library to the origin from which they forked. I mean, mentally. Angular 1. So please compare Angular 1 to Vue.js and their abundance of methods. Then this will be fair comparison, but not Angular 2. It doesn't fit this picture.
Okay, yeah. We're talking about the modern frameworks. So Angular 1 is like people, I think, perceive it as like a legacy already. So
yes, but Vue.js is Angular 1, just simplified and made human.
You're talking from the like developer view, or
yes.
like what's it internally?
Yes,
developer view. Yeah, developer view. True. Yeah, but conceptually, I mean, what's working under the hood is different. It's not like Angular 1 without comments or something. It's it uses concepts, but it's completely how do you say, modern and comprehensive library. So yeah, my point is that if the API is too big, then it decreases your productivity, and it really means that probably this library tries to fix too many things at once. That's what I'm saying. I mean, we have a lot of aspects in our everyday development, except for just mastering the library, how it will work. Yeah? Okay, so that's the developer's experience. What I was talking about. I mean, the versioning is quite clear. The documentation is really, I would say it's small. I mean, it's pretty tiny. There's not that many methods, and that's why it's easy to master. It's easy to use in your project. Another part of that is there are all the modern tools which we used to as developers, such as CLI and browser plugin as a debugger. So it's all in place, and of course the auto-completion and the snippets and things like that in your editor of choice. It's all present for Vue. So to make you really productive, the same as you are with other frameworks that you're using. If you use the Angular Veteran or the debugger for React applications, it's exactly the same thing. So you have a tiny icon in the Chrome toolbar, and then you can then do the time trial debugging like React guys do, or inspect the scopes and see what's are the components values like in Veteran, for example. So that's all in place. And yeah, that's referencing that note that the syntax which is used is the one you know and hopefully love. Just for a comparison, this is the Lifecycle methods which are present for the components. Well, here I choose for comparison the Angular 1x version. I think they added 1.7 or 1.6, I think. So you can see it exactly maps one to another, like when the component was initialized, when the component was mounted to the DOM, when it gets changes, and when it was destroyed. I mean, there are details, of course, you should know why they're not exactly the same, but this is details. But the whole approach is the same, and it's pretty logical. So, but even the Vue has before handlers for each of those, so you basically can start doing things just in advance before the main event happens. This is the component methods, but for templates, I thought to make a comparison with Angular templates, but then I thought it's just useless because it's almost equal. You just change the V to NG in the old Angular, or in the modern Angular you have those how do you call it, banana in the box syntax. It's almost the same. So you have all the same things like. To put the information into the DOM and to extract information from the DOM by listening to the events. That's the syntax of Vue.js. Yeah, and just to overview some of the concepts they have. The templates and expressions, that's what was on the previous slide. The directives, it's just Angular word, right? They have built-in directives like if, show, for, and others like raw HTML display, and the custom ones which you can add yourself to handle some specific DOM-related activities. The filters, the events, just exactly the same syntax. The option to put fragments of higher level into the component, like ng transclude. Here it's called slots. You can also have like multiple slots per component. So that's as you can see, it's just the same thing. So that was some parts, but you may say, okay, it's not only about those templates and components. We want to really more difficult stuff, the things which are part of any application. So we'll go through that. For example, components. Here's an example of a component in Vue. So basically, this is on a black background. You see the single file component approach, where you can scope all three things: HTML, CSS, and JavaScript into one. Which you can later just pull through Webpack and have the whole component hooked up as a whole, or you can register a component as within one .js file. Basically, it has several conventional properties like a props array. It can be also an object, but that's considered an array with the parameters or variables, how do you call it, which are passed from the parent components. Then the template or the reference to the template, depending how you organize it. Then the lifecycle hooks that I noted in the beginning, like create, update, mount, things like that. And the methods. The methods is basically the business logic, if you can call it so, of the component, where you can just do really simple thing. Just reference this. This is the data which the component has. So basically, this greeting will be if you wanna, for example, say hello world. Then in the method, you can say this greeting equals this plus world. So this makes it really easy. You don't need this scope concept. If we look at the Angular world, it's really isolated, but that's why it's also quite simple. Another example is the router. Vue has its own router which you can hook up to the Vue instance. It configures also very similarly to to the way it's done in Angular or React world. Just tell the path, tell the component that will be instantiated, and then just create a new instance of the router. That's it. And then later you can reference it using this kind of internal component, the router link. Of course, this is super basic example. You can have nested routes, authorization before the routes, things like regex for the route. All those kind of things are available. You just go to the documentation. Another thing, the Vuex, how you call it. This is basically the Redux version of the Vue. So, well, the scheme is exactly the same as it is for the Flux architecture thing. So components create actions, and then there's those mutations, and then they influence the state, and the state updates the subscribed components. So it's very similar to what you do with Redux. And here I just placed some of the examples how you can instantiate it, but it really, if you open the documentation on a freshly created project, you can make it work really fast. Here you hook the store to your app, the same way you did with the router, if you remember. Then somewhere in the component, in the methods, you just do something like store, make this action with this data, and then in the store, it's being processed in the way, well, if you use the React or React-like frameworks who uses state management, it's just very, very simple for you. So this is about the state management. Well, I could give more examples, but that's, I mean, some of the things that are already present in the ecosystem, such as there's plenty of libraries for covering the material design, Bootstrap, some mobile UI. So you just pick one, hook it to the project, and it will you can use it immediately. It also has a server-side rendering and lazy component loading, which is, I think, also more like a must for a comprehensive library. So it's all in place, it's all available in the community repositories. You should take a look.
What is form handling?
Well, I just added it as one of the points. You can also validate forms and get the form input with natively with Vue.js. That's what I meant. Again, the syntax will be really similar to Angular-ish forms. Well, now I'll do a little bit of SemiLife Coding. Basically, what I'm gonna do, just install the Vue CLI, then init it with the Webpack version of the project, and then install a couple of libraries. This one, the MintUI, is for basically list of UI components, elements, something like material design. Well, mostly for mobile. Axios, you probably know it is a HTTP request tool library. Well, I also added Vue Online, which is dumb, simple component which checks if you are online or not, and if you are offline, it shows you the message. Since we're going to do like a small mobile-ish application, then that may be handy because we always tend to lose connections, right? So yeah, that's simple setup. What we're gonna do, we're gonna just install all that stuff, connect to the API, pull some data, update the UI. It's a pretty simple thing. And I pushed the code to this repository. If later you would like to play around with that, it's there. So well, I'll skip the part with initializing the project because it may take a while to install all that stuff. So imagine we are now already in the freshly created project. So we have some files. Yeah. So that's the part which is generated by the. So if you run all those so if you run all those commands in the terminal, you will end up with something like this. Yeah, here. And now I will start the webpack. Yeah, so that's what you get. It's not much, but you get it after just you do nothing, but you have already simplified component here. Actually, maybe also it's better visible. So yeah, there's one component, one main component, and that's basically it. So if we want to achieve some progress with that, we can first let's remove all that stuff and add a component with a list of Pokemons which will be retrieved from the API. So how we do that? We'll see here. What we did, we created the file PokeListView, added just one element in the template, just empty component for now, and no CSS. Then this component is being hooked into the hello component here, just like that, here, and here. So that's how the components are being included one into another. Now the next step, we're gonna include the access library so that we can make use of it, and we do it here. So I just added those 2 lines. Next. Now let's add the API request, which will do the call to the Pokemon API, which will retrieve a list of Pokemons. So here it's done just with access.get, and then when the request is received, we update the internal page. So for now, it should look not very fancy, but it will contain the data retrieved from the API. The next step. Let's make the data display a bit more fancy. So here, what we did, we used the components from this MintUI library, like index list, and now it's kind of an index list, but as you can see, it's missing a bit of CSS. So for that, let's just add some CSS link. That's now looks a bit better. So what I did, I just, of course, you can add it as a, edit in a normal way, but just to save time, I'm referencing the compiled MintUI CSS in the header, so you get the styling for free. Next step, we can add, so this list just shows items retrieved from the API. It's some items, those Pokemon items with some information in it. Let's try to add something more. For example, if you click one, you should get something like an image with the details on it. If we change the template with a button here, which will on click call the method which we call show Pokemon details, and this method is located in the methods section here. And what it does, it again retrieves the API for that specific item of the list. So this is the list, this is the item, and this is the button. And if you click the button, you get more details. So I just have this path in the data structure which points to image of one Pokemon. So that's how it should look like. Oh, I probably would be better if I did it like this. Oh, since it's a mobile, it should look like this. So here's the call, and then if we click here, it does another call and retrieves an image. Fancy, right? Okay, that's how it works. Let's add a couple more elements to the application, something like a navigation bar on top. Now they will be a bit more visible. But what we did, created one more single file component, which we call navigation bar, and within it I have one property called title, and this title is displayed here, and it's just saying the purpose of our application. It's displaying Pokemon. Here it is. To make it even more interesting, we can add the offline indicator, the one I was talking about. So if we add it now, basically nothing changes when you are online, but if you go offline, it will show you this. It's really easy to do with using the third-party plugin, which is called Vue Online, which really easily included, like with one line here, and one thing here. If you want a custom message, you can always add custom message, styling, all that stuff. Yeah. So that's how you get a really damn simple application. Yeah, we're offline, so you can't make the post. If you get online, you get a picture. That's about it with the coding. Let's get back to what I was talking about, the framework itself. So we mostly discussed all the parts. I just want to do some last words about what you should know if you consider using Vue. So there are, of course, the moments that everything comes with the price, and there are points that you should know which may be not applicable for your project. So this the server-side rendering, if you use it heavily, and you may want to have it on different language platforms, like it is with React. Here it only bounded to the Node.js rendering. I mean, React has other renders like on Ruby, on PHP, you can run the server-side rendering. Vue.js for now is only Node.js version. Well, the second point is partly a benefit, partly I think maybe an advantage, that there is no monster corporation behind, which may do whatever they want with their product, and you are just a consumer who doesn't have any voice in this process. So here, all is driven by the community, and if you or your company has a view on Vue, then you may participate in that. It's not like Facebook React, which you just either take like it is or just go away, you know. and of course the ecosystem is still pretty tiny. It's 10, maybe 20 times smaller than React and Angular, but it's really growing fast. It's thanks to the similarities it has. I think it can be overcome really soon. And of course, the positive part. Why you should consider if you didn't. because that's really can be mental trigger, life changer. How do you call it? It's not about the Angular or React or jQuery or whatever. It's about the approach, because Angular and the frameworks of the past, let's call it so, they dictate how you should build all the parts of your application, while the modern way to do the layers, like with React, you're not pushed into something. You just can build your nice your nice framework on top of some solid architecture based on. So that's what I meant, mental bridge. Yeah, I hope I showed you enough that it's really piece of cake for you if you did something with Angular. It's really everything is there the same. And the third big point is there is no opinionation, no pushing you into doing things that way or the other way, calling the methods with this letter or with that letter, using specific parameters and stuff like that. No, you own your code. You have to be aware that it's clean and modular and things like that. But it doesn't force you to do anything completely. Yeah, and what I was started with, that it's really tiny library which you won't notice, your users won't notice its presence in your bundle. So give it a try. I'm pretty sure you'll like it. If you're eager to go, there are some links. You probably know most of the sources. They also have a newsletter which goes regularly, the awesome list, which is like huge, a lot of stuff there. Yeah, and the others are pretty basic, like a Gitter and Stack Overflow. You guys using it every day, I hope. So all the links are in the presentation. You can take a look at it later. Well, that's it. Here's the presentation. Here's my Twitter. Thank you very much. And if you have questions.
Could you describe maybe domain of problems or a set of or type of application that one would build and benefit from that particular solution? Or it fits them all?
Well, of course, I would say that if you like starting to adopt the framework in already a big company, like a big amount of developers, I don't know, 10, 20, 50 developers working in different time zones and things like that, then you probably may not to want to use it, because if you go for Angular 2 with TypeScript and all that detailed Java-like API, then you benefit from it at some point, and it's more applicable for huge projects, for big applications. Yeah, that's true. But if you're starting, you want to start quick, you are like 2 or 3 engineers, and you sick and tired from your current stack, which is not reactive enough, not extendable enough, and forcing you too much. So I think that's a really good point to try. So because if people start a project saying we're gonna be like a Facebook in 2 years, but I can say like almost 100% you're never gonna be, because like 99% never happens. So why bother writing complicated code when you can just do it within a couple of hours and have MVP, which will further be developed, and if you really become another Facebook, then you can hire 1,000 developers and rewrite it all in TypeScript or whatever. So for small projects, that's the way to go, but for already huge organizations, that's probably not.
I was looking actually for the type of project, not from the perspective of how many people are involved in this development, but rather what kind of project there is. And for example, if I'm to build real-time stock dashboard.
Okay.
Yes. Information updates and blah blah blah. Should I go for this framework or a library, or should I choose React? That is probably going to be even slower, or something else. So what type of applications does
Okay,
this
type of application.
library-
That's
Yes.
the right word.
Yeah.
Well, the Vue has the same, the strong parts and probably the same weak parts as any virtual DOM-based framework. So if React gonna be slow, that guy may be slow as well. But basically, I would say that if you go for something like real-time dashboard, I think it's still applicable. I mean, you can in proper places you can make use of like SVG or canvas-based UI, and then you don't need to redraw the whole thing, for example. But I wouldn't say this is the no-go for Vue, because here you use it more like a well, not a template, but more like the structuring element. So it's probably applicable. But how do you say the general purpose application, with all this login, logout, some user information, some tables and some forms. That's what we basically develop most of the time, right? Tables and forms of tables and sortable tables and all kinds of stuff. That works perfectly, and you can hook all the modern like plugins, like a data table if you want, or any other to Vue, like wrap it into Vue and keep on using it like this. The same as you would do with React.
We have a couple of questions. How do you write styles basically within the same file of the components? You write template, the JavaScript, and then styles, right?
Yeah.
When you run it with Webpack, how does it work? Does Webpack put everything in the head of the file, or in line styles, or how does it?
I see. There is a special the Vue loader, which can consume the mixed content like this, and there is a configuration. As far as I remember, you can choose the option. You can generate a file.
I guess you're talking about extract CSS. That's a plugin for Webpack, right?
Yeah. You can
But without
also
that.
Vue.js, Vue loader, I think can handle it to the CSS plugin as well.
And does it operate directly in the DOM, or does it go to a virtual DOM, as like React?
You mean the styles or the DOM?
No, when like you reference a component,
Yeah.
a different node on the DOM, does it go to a virtual DOM when it re-renders itself? Does it go to a virtual DOM or the DOM itself?
Basically, the question is, does it maintain its own virtual DOM, or it does not and goes directly from the component logic into the HTML DOM that it renders into?
No, the implementation that is using the version 2 is using it has the model, the virtual DOM model, which is being iterated to figure out where the updates are needed. So as far as I got the question.
But
Yeah.
how does it behave, for example, if you put in that list 40,000 items with the rendering, how does it behave? Is there any virtualization, for example, plugins or stuff?
Well, I understand the question. That specific, I didn't see, because I wasn't searching for this kind of heavy corner case with like a table with thousands of lines. That's I know that in React world there are like techniques for that, and also there are also the same approaches with Angular versions when you like show only the visible parts. Well,
the next 10.
Exactly. Yeah. I'm pretty sure that somebody tackled that problem, and we should really check this. Awesome Vue repository, like a list of repositories. Probably there is something. I don't know. Didn't investigate specifically that.
And another question, I saw it receives props as well, like React component. Is that like some static things where you use those props when you create or generate dynamically the components in the app?
No, I mean it's the same philosophy as in React world. you can get the props, but you cannot mutate them. But you have the state which you can. The state here is called data, so that's what the component has inside of it, and it can do whatever it wants with the data elements, but not the props.
And
however, I think you can reference something. This is very Angular way, like these $parent props. So there are those you can see where it comes from. So yeah, some hacky ways.
And I saw there are like 4 lifecycle methods, only before, but which one do I use, like component did mount, for example?
No, it's not before, it's maybe I didn't put it correctly, it's like 2 methods, before create.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's like twice 8 more methods, yeah.
So there are 8. Okay.
Yeah, it's, that's what I meant, yeah.
So even after it's destroyed, like after destroyed, you can still do something?
Apparently.
Because you don't have that in React, for example. You have
I think that guy really took a lot of good approaches and enhanced them here and there. So yeah, that means that there are 8.
Which one would you associate to like components? Component will receive props, like React update before
No. Well, I think it could be before mount.
No, that should be before it mounts on the DOM, but when it receives new props, I guess it's after updated.
No, if the props are updated, then it's there. But I mean, on the initial load, then you can use before mount. I think you already have the access to the props values. I'm pretty sure it is. Yeah, but of course, if it's the parent keeps mutating the props, then it's this circle.
Yeah, well, guys.